Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're doing our first reorganizing Zombicide 2nd Edition. So reorganizing is when I play a game for a while. I've played about 10-15 games of Zombicide 2nd Edition now, and I reassess the way I organize it based on the way I've been playing. So generally when I organize a game, it's after a few plays and I kind of understand the mechanics and what's going to be coming out. But after a while, I may come back to a game and reorganize it, and that's what this is. So there's another video on the channel for organizing Zombicide 2nd Edition that has everything protected and well done and still in containers, just basically to maximize your space in the boxes. This one, however, is completely focused on gameplay, and you're going to notice that we're missing a lot of the plastic organizers and containers that were inside. So without further ado, let's take a look at reorganizing Zombicide 2nd Edition, and this is the all-in minus the role-playing stuff. So before we start though, I do want to mention that the Washington DC and Fort Hendricks expansions are going to remain in their separate boxes. So Washington DC is a campaign expansion. It's very straightforward. You've got lots of scenario cards, scenario boards, specific cards for the campaign, as well as tokens and NPCs. So you have lots of these that are going to be inside of the Washington DC boxes, but you're only going to use them when you actually play with this expansion. And this is really easy to just plug and play into the base game. So I have all of those components in their respective boxes because if you're just going to be playing the scenarios in the game, you're not going to need the box. You can just leave them on the shelf. Let's go ahead and get started. So first off, we have the 2nd edition core box, and we're going to lift the lid off, and we'll see that we have the rule and scenario book. We have a printout of the missions from the CMON website. We've got the Reboot Box rules, the tiles for the boards. And then we see that we have a little bit difference between the original organization. So first off, on the top here, we have all of the dice. So we've got 5 sets of dice here. And this is a Chip Theory Games organizer. We have lots of those extra from the Too Many Bones trove chest. In the front here, we have all of your dashboards for the different players. So this is going to just kind of sit on the side here. This is for all of the 12 players. This includes the extra player expansion. We've got the 2 cars just side by side here, the car miniatures. We have the survivors from the Fort Hendricks and Washington DC expansions in their own special plastic bags. And then you'll notice we have a bag here that's going to contain all of the runners. So originally when playing the game, I had all of the zombies that you're going to be using every game just in their own plastic, kind of like this. But playing the game, you don't really need to do that. You can just put them in these plastic bags specifically for runners because you're just going to be pulling handfuls out at a time. So runners, walkers, and fatties are all going to have that same treatment here. However, I do keep everything else in their own specific areas because it is much easier to find them when you need. And that's where we're going to go on this next section. So right off the bat, on the right side here, we've got all of the Danny Trejo miniatures and survivors and zombies. We've got the 2 promo miniatures from the Kickstarter exclusives. We've got all of the different presidents in their own plastic container. I've cut a section here, that way it's only going to be the survivors and the abominations from the core box. Same thing here, these are all of the RPG survivors with the actual cards cut out. And then on the bottom here you have all of the new survivors from the Reboot Box. They all fit nicely here. And it's kind of nice because it leaves enough room. It leaves enough room on the bottom here, that way you have room on the side for all of your survivor dashboards. So let's go ahead and put things up in the core box. So we've got all the survivors here. We've got the dashboards, and they all fit really nicely, just tucked in like that. We've got Danny Trejo, he goes here. We've got the RPG survivors, the core box survivors, and abominations. The 2 cars. We've got the presidents over here. They fit nicely in that empty spot. You got your dice. You've got your promo survivors. we've got all of our runners. And then we've got our Washington, D.C. and Fort Hendricks survivors. All right. Up next, we've got our tiles. And then our reboot box, our rules, and our extra scenarios. And that is the core box. So the core box is going to have about an inch of lid lift here. It is drastically decreased from the original storage solution that I presented. The next box we'll look at, and the final one, is the reboot box. So this has all of your walkers, fatties, and tokens. So first off, we have an organizer here. This is a dollar organizer from the Dollar Tree. You simply pop the top off, and inside you'll have all of the caches for the weapons, the special objective markers, the special spawns, your starting spawns, all the spawn tokens, first player marker, extra tokens here. These are specific colors, that way you can easily find them. You've got all the basic red doors, noise tokens, the standard objectives, and then you have the non 3D car tiles if you want, and then an additional set of dice. And then you have all of the different player colors in their own little bag, so you can just toss them to a player. That way they have all the components they need. And this sits really nicely. It sits flat, really solid organizer. This is from the Dollar Tree, $1. It's a hardware organizer. Under that, we have a makeup organizer. And this makeup organizer is going to hold all of your cards. And once again, if you do include those campaign expansions, you can simply plug in the cards you'll be using and replace them. So you've got all of the cards separated here based on the different modules you want to use. So super nice. This is $1 at Dollar Tree as well. So if you can find something similar, plastic bag works just as fine here as well. Up next, we have all of the different characters. So they all just sit in a big brick and you just pick the character. That sounds awesome. So really nice. They fit in that corner really well. On the left side here, you'll see that we have all of the fatties just in a large bag. Same reason as the runners. You don't really care which one you're grabbing, you pull it out. If you do decide to play with the house rules, you can play with them as they come out, because that's the best way to randomize them, is just have them in a random draw bag. Same thing with the walkers. You're going to have all of these guys in their own random draw bags. And then underneath you have all of the various abominations. So you have the stretch goal abominations, more stretch goal abominations. Ooh. And then lastly, you've got the Area 51 abominations. I forget what these are, like aliens and the chupacabra and stuff. And that's the reboot box. So let's go ahead and pack it up. So first off, we'll have the abominations, this longer package. You'll put the Area 51 abominations, the aliens, and then you'll put the Shia LaBeouf and friends in this one. Up next, you'll take all the character cards and put them on the side here. You'll take the card tray and lay that on that side. We'll take the organizer and put it on top of the card tray. Fits nicely there. And then we'll take the walkers. Some will go in that empty spot there, and then we'll place the fatties on top. And that fits super nicely. And this is going to have a smidgen of lid lift on this one. It's going to have just a little under an inch on this one as well. But combined, if you stack all three of these, if you put the Zombicide core box on top of that one, and this one on top of this one, no components are damaged, and you'll see that everything fits really nicely into one Calyx cube if you fit them all like that. And that is organizing Zombicide 2nd Edition. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. If you have any questions about reorganizing in general, I find that this is a very cool kind of retrospective on how I initially look at the organization of a system. I think it's pretty cool. If you have any questions, again, please let them down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Side Game Strong.